So, welcome to this watercolour painting of this window with geranium, and it's actually based on a window that you might see in an old building in Italy, France, Spain, anywhere like that. It's going to be a very wet, loose watercolour. The only sort of fairly accurate bit, if you like, is the window frame. I have used a straight edge to try and create that is actually a manufactured product. But everything else around it is going to be very loose. Oops, and I've just knocked the camera, so forgive me for that. Very difficult trying to paint while you're filming. Anyway, the first thing I'm going to do is an effect called a resist. I'm using an ordinary household white candle, and I'm going to take the side of it and rub it in parts over the watercolour paper. What that does is when you come to paint, it resists the paint and you get a nice sort of mottledy effect. I'm now going to mix up a wash of a burnt sienna, and I'm taking a little bit of white because I just want a softer pastel-y colour. And you see how the wax has resisted it. Oh, the sun's gone in, so I hope that doesn't affect your viewing experience. So plenty of water on this area because it's a big area, and it's often easier to apply your colour when it's already wet. It doesn't dry off so quickly. You can see I'm working on a slope because of filming. I might not, as a rule, work at this angle when I'm working very wet because it's going to run downhill. But it doesn't matter, it's just as long as you can see what I'm doing. So I've got a big brush here, I've got a number 10. Just whacking on, basically, some colour to give us a starting point. This is essentially what this is about. It's a method of working. It's how I do things, and it often works well for other people. Start off by getting some colour on everywhere. Very, very pale. You can always add it. Not always as easy to take it off. You can, but it's not always that easy. So always start light and you can add more. I'm just sort of feeding this wishy-washy colour into the gaps between the stones. We've got two concrete lintels here, then we've got big stones around the outside, and these gaps down here, that's where the rendering has cracked off. If you've been to Europe and seen old buildings in France and Italy, they tend to build them, or they did, out of whatever was available. I've seen in the exposed brickwork on old French buildings, bits of drain pipe, bits of roof tiles, stones, anything really. See, I'm lifting that colour out there, so I've gone over my edge. Anything really that they could get their hands on, because they, I guess, haven't got much in the way of materials, and then they would put some sort of plaster over the top. Always make sure before you start painting that you have everything ready. You've got your water, you've got your paints, you've got some tissue, absorbent tissue, in case you want to mop anything up. And it's also good for just giving you a slightly different effect if you want. Okay, so that is our starting point. I'm going to just give that a couple of minutes, then I'm going to go straight to the window frame.